Yeah, tell us to shut up. Oh.
We're back.
They didn't hear that. I don't think they heard that.
Oh, of course they heard that. If I hear it,
Tamlin,
they hear
just so
it.
you know.
All right. So that was the Kickstarter video
Is
for.
that how we entered the show? I still can't hear you, Tamlin.
I'm sorry. You guys should hear me
There you
now. So that was the Kickstarter video for Project Gorgon. No one told me about cow armor. I'm stuck as a cow currently in the game, and if I'd known that there would have been cow armor, I'd have been out there trying to get it. So why do you guys? Why? Because the three of you are like hard. Like, this is a great game. You want to see it made. I'm kind of like, yeah, it's a cool game and all, but I'm not quite on the same level that you guys are. What is it? Why is it?
Me first. Because I brought this to everybody. Gorgon, when I first discovered it, I was like, what is this? What is this little nugget of gold on the internets? Gorgon is this game that decided that and I'll say Kappas, it does look old, but it's using the Unity engine, which is a free source engine to develop for. I would say people need to stop typing in chat. I'm trying to talk.
So glad I put you up for breakfast this morning.
Oh geez. Anyway, Project Gorgon yes,
is
I
a
got
kickstarting MMO
Listen,
right now.
I got this. I got this. All right, Project Gorgon is this little project that this guy created, and him and his wife. He comes for EverQuest 2. His wife comes for Asheron's Call.
Other way around.
Oh,
his wife
comes
from
a
producer on EQ2.
There you go. Wife's producer on EQ2. But they created this game, right? Which you can go play right now. Go to projectgorgon.com and you can download the pre-alpha and play. It's free to try, but they have a Kickstarter, and a lot of websites, I think, found it too late. MMORPG.com found it. PC massively had an article.
PC, yeah.
Like it started coming, I think, too late. So now I know a lot of people are like looking at it like, oh, it's getting funded, but it has so many days. Don't look at it like, oh, I think a lot of it was that it wasn't advertised, and that was a problem for it. But what this game offers is so much fun. Like, when you first log in, you don't have a tutorial. You walk up to something, like I walked up to mushrooms and I picked them and I raised my mycology, right? And like mushroom picking, of all things, or mushroom study. I went to the first guy over there and I talked to him, and he was depressed, and I had to go like, okay, well, he's like, there's no way to escape the cave, blah, blah, blah. So I went, all right. So I just explored, and then I found a dead body and I got a sword. And what I noticed is that there are no levels in the game. Something that EverQuest Next has. There are no levels.
There are levels in terms of your class. But
in the class.
Yeah, in the class.
In the class. You level up your class, so you unlock more things. You unlock more spells or moves or whatever you want to call it. So you unlock things. So what you do is you level up what you want to do in the game. If you want to be a cheesemaker, which is entirely possible, you can be a cheesemaker. If you want to be a mushroom expert, you can be a mushroom expert. If you want to be a sword master, be a sword master.
If you want to be a cow, if you want to be a combat psychologist, if you want to, if you want to be a vampire, if you want to be a necromancer, like literally,
by the way,
there
I'm
are
level 10.
so many.
I'm
classes.
level 10 in psychology.
Oh, nice! I think
am
only like
level 10
level
in
9. I think you're ahead of me on that. Yeah.
It's so awesome.
The humor of the game is absolutely.
I am stuck as a cow.
Are you stuck as a cow?
And every time I play with every time I play with my friends, they chase me around and milk me.
Listen, I have cow armor, like a cow chest piece. Do you want it? I'll give it to you.
Whoa, there you go, cow armor.
Yeah.
All right, cow armor for Tannen.
I have spider armor.
Oh yeah, we got spider armor.
I got a piece of that. You look like a White Walker. A little bit. You do.
Scary.
Like a White Walker. It is scary. Well, what about you, Crayola? What is your favorite part of the game so far? Because you've been playing more than I have, I think.
Yeah, I like burying the body so far. I discovered that this morning.
You can drag bodies?
No, you could get a shovel and bury the bodies that you kill.
What?
That is fantastic! What?
Wow. Does that like level up your priest skill or anything like that?
You get compassion.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Dang.
That's really cool. And like I was talking to Zube earlier, he was still playing. He's still playing the game. it's this fun little like. Listen, guy, like if I go try it out, like it. Throw art style out to the side of how old the game looks. I don't care. It's the pre-alpha is free. Even though they have a Kickstarter, there's something viable that you can play right now to get an idea what this game is. Go do it. Because I think this is kind of a good way to kind of get an idea of what, besides the combat, I think this is a good idea to try to understand what EverQuest Next is going to be. Some of the things that we see in this game, we would want to see in EverQuest Next. And that's one of the reasons why we're bringing it up, is because that you go in the world, like Zubei, who is also in Helsing Army. Zubei told us about a crypt. And in the crypt, there's a skeletal guy that you have to kill. If you can kill him, which, by the way, is no easy feat, because Crayola Kitty and I got our asses handed to us a bajillion times in that crypt, which you do need a strong party for. If you can kill that guy, you unlock necromancy, which is similar to what we were seeing with
EQN. You're supposed to unlock quests or classes by doing stuff.
Remember with the what was it? The Tempest. Remember there was the castle. If you you delve deep into the dungeons underneath it, you could find the book, and if you read that book, you unlock Tempest. That's the same idea with this game. I read a book and I unlocked psychology. That's how I unlocked my psychology combat class. Was reading a book that I found next to a guy, and the only reason
the guy was the guy who was depressed, and you randomly went in your craft recipe and found the recipe for like this power-up juice, made that, gave it to the guy, then he said, "Hey, now you can read my book." You got a class just like that.
Yeah. So like all the stuff we've talked about that we want from EverQuest Next is in this little indie MMO.
No, not everything. All right,
not everything.
It's a static world.
It is static,
but it's all open world. It's. The humor and the puzzles are the two things that really get me. The fact that I can be doing something that in a normal MMO would mean nothing but a simple quest update where I got an item, and that can turn into a class. Or the other day I spent 3 hours growing cabbage because I found this altar, and the rhyme on it was something leafy, green, and delicious, but smells real bad, so run away. And I'm like, well, what the hell smells that's leafy and delicious? Well, when I cook cabbage, it stinks up the house. So I spent probably 2-3 hours leveling up my gardening to grow a cabbage to put in the altar to get a ring out of it. Another NPC asked me a math problem. I had to do algebra. I mean, these are really cool, simple things that MMOs today just don't do. They guide you on the story, but they guide you on the story where it's mindless. This is a game that makes me think again and explore, and I can find things that I never knew existed. That's something that I really want from EQN.
And I have to say, like, the creator of the game is super open to suggestions. We were talking to him on Twitter, and we were like, "Oh, you have lycanthropy. Oh, that's cool. You become a werewolf. What about vampirism?" Zubei mentioned vampirism. He's like, I will do it once I get if I can get this kickstarted, and because the Unity system allows you to do day and night cycles. He said, "I will totally do vampirism." Imagine a class that can only be done during at night, or you can only run because during the day you'll catch fire. Oh, by the way, if you catch fire in the game, you have to find water to put yourself out. Like, don't get caught on fire.
Right, and that actually reminds me of, friendly fire, does it have it in the game? Because it's tab targeting, so there's no friendly fire, right?
There's no friendly fire. There's no friendly fire.
See, that's too bad.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. And
you should be able to fireball your friends and foes.
They need a PvP server where it's open world PvP, and we can do that. Because I remember we were killing in the beginning cave, there's the spider boss, and it was an old school EQ moment because we were trying to camp this mob, but there was this other group there, and they basically ninja looted before we got anything out of it. That would have been a perfect time for a little PvP. Just whack them out, get them out of your cave real quick, and get the mob yourself.
And I have to say, like, the guy, even though he has not been kickstarted yet, he is updating the pre-alpha. Like, he just launched new content.
There's a whole new continent.
Yeah, there's a whole new chunk of land, and it has the druid class, which he just added last night.
I'm excited about.
And the hammer, which is a whole new weapon that the druid can use.
Yep.
So
everything. It's not just like what you're saying about the vampirism. Like, you make a decision, and that's kind of what defines you. But not everything's a good decision, because if you do become a vampire, well, then when you're using that vampire class, if it's outside, you're gonna burn to death. There's also something to do with druids or something. Like, it says something about when nature calls, you don't have a choice because you're a druid. You have to go help the forest.
You have to go help the forest.
And we don't know how that even works yet. But apparently, you're making a choice to be this druid, and because of that, it defines your character. Something that EQN, it's a major tenet.
Yeah, with werewolves, with lycanthropy, because the the moon cycle, there's 3 days out of the month that you'll be full.
You're in
you
wolf
can't
form,
change
right?
back. You can't change back. You're in wolf form. You're stuck.
I will say that as a cow, the NPCs, their conversations with you are different. Like when you're in the beginning cave and you talk to the lady that tells you how to get out of the cave, if you talk to her when you're a cow, she laughs at you and tells you there's a pasture in the town.
That's great. Like,
and this isn't even emergent AI. I mean,
I have to tell, yeah, it is a little awesome. There are little things like that. By Tanlin becoming a cow, boss mobs or named mobs have there's no death penalty, but there is a penalty if you die to a named mob and you get cursed. And so far, I've seen a player turn into a cow. I've seen a player turn into a pig, a spider, and he's adding, I think, another one where a female named mob will turn you into a woman. It'll gender bend you into a woman, and all the mob NPCs will refer to you as a woman. And that's it. Like, that's it. Game over. Like, that's
it.
Your character. Now your tune is now a woman. That's little things like that are fantastic. Let's see. We got
absolutely. The game's really cool. It's a lot of fun. And even though it has these systems that are programmed based on old technology, it does a lot of what we're hoping for EQN. So I can only imagine when you get the AI technology behind these creatures and have them kind of searching the same sort of tags, what it could be like. Because I was sitting in a town, and the Fletcher there is like, hey, I need feathers for my arrows. I'm like, sure, yeah, I'll get you some feathers. He's like, why don't you just go around and kill the chickens? Because let's be honest, like, fletching isn't that much work. I don't want you to break a nail, basically, is what he said to me. I'm like, okay, so I go and kill the chicken. Well, there's this town drunk walking through as I kill the chicken. He's like, oh, all hail to Wena, Lord mighty Slayer, I can't talk, of the chickens. And I lost rep with that actual NPC because every NPC has a reputation that you build with them. So it just has a lot of really cool things. I think it's something that should be funded.
And the fun thing is that cave, like, don't think that cave, like, that starting cave is not just a starting cave. Like, there are stuff in that cave that you'll have to go back.
Stuff hidden, too.
Yeah, there's hidden stuff. Like, there's the spider you can't beat until you go outside the cave and go level some stuff up and come back. Like we haven't been able to beat the spider in that cave yet, I don't think. Like, none of us have been able to kill it, really.
Not by ourselves. We'd have a huge group.
Yeah, we had to have, like other people plus us go kill it. To go find the guy's shield. There's like tons of little things. Like I gained reputation with the mob in there, the female. That the way, like, when you log out, you can still gain rep with people. Like, you choose to spend time with them, and the way, like, you choose it, they'll do like little different things. And one of them was when I found a woman in a cave, and when I logged out, I spent time delicing her. Like, her and I just pick lice off of each other, and that's what happened when I logged out. And when I came back in, you're like,
what a romantic night.
I know. And when I logged back in, I got a delousing comb in my inventory. like it gave me that. Like, that was something when I logged in. I was like, I got a delousing comb, and then I remembered, and I went to go check, and like my reputation with her was up to 67%. I was like, what is up? Like I was like, and I kept like going back to her. I'm like, I'm gonna log in later and like play a little bit, and then probably like before I log out, may try to raise my rep again. Because I'm all like, I think I want to see if I can have a romantic time with this NPC.
Reminds me of the episode of The Guild where what is it, Zabu?
Zabu, yeah.
Is trying to get it with the mermaid going on, and his faction gets reset, and all his life's over. Yeah.
A little bit. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be me and the cave chick.
Oh no. It's a game that keeps you guessing, is what I like about it. It's like, I don't know how big the world is. It could be tiny for all I know, but it feels grand because everywhere I look and every button I click, I see something new. Loot is randomly generated, so I might get one ring a second, like, from doing something, and then I get the same ring a second later, but it's randomized, so it has kind of a slightly different name, different effects. They have class armors that change things, so something that EQN's talking about is, if I equip a chest plate, that can affect my ability. Well, it already has that, because I can attach earrings or a chest plate that gives my kick ability a heal. And just because I have unarmed going with kick, that armor set can actually affect my entire class and my gameplay. So it does a lot of really cool things for an indie MMO. And everyone should check it out. If you liked Project Pantheon, check this game out. Because this is an old school game like Project Pantheon was promising to be, but you can actually play it.
Right. That would be my comment. That is that if you were looking at Project Pantheon and thought that this might be that Pantheon was a game that you might be interested in, then you probably want to check out Project Gorgon, just to give it a try.
Absolutely. Well, guys, any last comments on Gorgon before we move on?
I'll say this. I think if you have any idea of or if you have an idea of what EverQuest Next might be, just a little bits of it, go try it out. The worst thing you're going to do is download a gig, less than a gig of space for an MMO that you can go try out right now and find the charm in it. See what it's about. It's a persistent world. When you drop items, they stay on the ground. When you go sell something to the shopkeeps and stuff like that, they keep it in their inventory. And so if I sold an apple to a shop person, Kit can go buy that apple 2 hours later. It's still in their thing to buy. So there's little things to this game that are just fantastic.
Yeah, your reputation will also affect the price that they sell it to you. Straight out of Skyrim, or Oblivion did that too. It has a lot of really cool eccentricities that make it pretty awesome.
Yeah, also, when you drop something, it shows it in the world and it stays there.
Yeah, it's been a while since we could do that in an MMO. EQ had it, but I don't. RuneScape had it too, right?
If you just drop something,
old school kind of thing.
Do you want to delete this item?
The first text-based MMO MUD that I ever played had that. You drop something on the ground and it would stay there. And if you,
that's awesome. I wonder what games went away from that.
Server space, trying to keep track of all those individual items. Well, no, not server space, but individual items. You have, we lost him. Come back to us.
I'm here, my lord. Okay, continue. That's true.
I totally just pulled a Tanlin. I haven't done that in weeks, and I just looked down and my.
So you were talking to us, and you weren't talking to them. You guys know what that means? Drink. I only have water left, but I'll take a drink.
Yeah, I got tea.
That means I'm fired, right?
Just
not yet.
Hashtag blame Talon.
Listen, if we haven't fired you after over a year, dude, you're not getting fired now.
You got the job, all right?
Yeah, you got it. You're stuck. You'll be written up for it, but it's fine.
Kyle S does the reprimanding for us.
Yeah, she puts him on the couch.
We need to give her a call right now.
Anyways, she's back from running her errands. She's just right over there.
She's back. Just right over there.
Yeah.
Tell her she has to put you on the couch tonight.
I have to sleep on the couch tonight, honey. I pulled a Tamlin, so they put you in charge of my reprimands.
I bet she's thinking right now. She's like, "What the hell?" She's like, "I take a."
And that's not my hand, okay, Casey. Mine is the Harry.
They're over there just telling him, we gotta reprimand him. What the hell's going on over there?
This is great.
This is what happens when Chewie and Flatus take over. Someone's got no control over us. Kitty's laughing. She's just sitting there laughing and staring. She held out her mic. She's just hilarious laughing.
That's what I get for
She's
bringing
sitting in the
coffee.
awkward zone. Oh.
So I'll try to get us back on topic.
Said in chat, what is this about marriage questioning game?
Okay, all right. We need to talk about communities in MMOs and virtual worlds. What level of community do you need to make it a virtual world? Is it more about just relying on each other? What is it? What's the purpose of a guild? Is it just for groups to talk to each other like a chat room? Let's go with that. Communities and MMOs. What we feel about them, is it a basic tenet for an MMO for us for a virtual world? Is it something that's necessary? Whoever would like to start off? Crayola Kitty. No, Crayola Kitty.
Kitty.
She's like,
Kitty, part of the Helsing Army. Talk about guilds.
I like communities that are friendly and will help you. And you just, I like ours because we just goof around and do whatever, and I can kill them, and they just laugh and they don't yell at me.
Yeah, and I'll back her thing real quick. with how I kind of run any of my guilds is that I'm very. I have one rule. Actually, no, I have three. I have three rules. My first main rule is be excellent to each other. My second rule is if you can't be excellent, be civil. And my third rule is if you can't be civil, be offline. I don't want you being a dick to anybody. like we all have to deal with shit during the day. And like I've never have to like really raise my voice or like have to like be pissed off at anybody in the guild because we're all pretty much just having like we log in and we have a good time. And like I know like I'm that one guy I'll take shit from the chat and like I'll talk and I'll make laughs and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I run the guild. But at the same time, when like we'll get stuff done, if like I feel like, hey, listen, guys, we're gonna go run this dungeon. We'll run this dungeon. Like EQ2, I was like, guys, we got to go get the raptor mount. Like we did that. We sat down and we dedicated.
Oh, the leaper, nice work.
Yeah, the leaper. Yeah,
that's cool.
We ran and did that.
Yeah,
and it was a lot of fun. Like that's how I kind of like running a guild. Like I want it to be fun where people don't feel stressed out and they come in and they hang out and we'll still get stuff done. I ran raids that way too. And you know what? It was like the best way to run a group of people because they never felt stressed. They came in, they had fun. Like everybody knows their role in a game, right? Like everybody, like if you're playing a healer, you know you have to heal. I'm not going to harp on you for not doing the best that you can. You know, shit happens. Like we get that. Like I'm not your boss, I'm your friend. Like that's how I kind of look at it. Like I'm not gonna like tell you like you're doing a shit job being a healer. Like, you're out.
Yeah, absolutely. Follow-up question then. Rephrase a little bit. With MMOs, is it the communities you join that keep you playing? Is that the reason you play? Do you seem to last longer in an MMO when you're with a community, or is it vice versa? Are you kind of a lone wolf player?
Kit.
Well, we all played WildStar and I liked it, but once everyone stopped playing, I stopped and I couldn't get back into it. And I haven't touched Arcade because no one else is, so I tend to play games that we all play together.
Yeah, and like I've said before, like I think I'm the only one who's currently playing Warcraft, and I had stopped playing, but it was like my real life friends, like my former roommates that were like, "Hey, we're gonna play WoW, and we want you to come too." And I'm like, "Okay, but you know, if you guys are all doing it, if these are all people I know in real life, and I socialize with them outside of my house, outside of playing games with them, then I'll play Warcraft with them." And that's the only reason I still have it and still play it is to play with real friends. If it wasn't for them, no, I'd probably stop playing. It's the key thing for me. Like if there's so many other games that I can play by myself. I log into an MMO so that I can play with other people that I know, people that I can look forward to playing with. And because I'm like the scheduler, it's so that I can, tackle those obstacles that can't be overcome just by myself with people that I can rely on.
Absolutely. And I'll say this, like looking at what actually Dave Georgeson was talking about on Twitter, and I had mentioned guilds. He was saying, like, what is a better way to not so that guilds have mega guilds on servers because we don't want to. They don't want to. His idea right now is like we don't want to give server guilds that have a lot of people to have the benefits, because that was one of the things with World of Warcraft. Like the more people you had in the guild, you unlock benefits for that mostly than anything else. And I suggested like, well, dedicate time. And he said, well, time doesn't really give you the benefit of the fun. Where's the fun factor? I said, well, so a little from column A and a little from column B. And he's like, write it up. You write it up and I'll look at it. I was like, fine. So right now, like during this week, I'm going to write up a guild so guilds work based on a time and effort situation where it's not only how much effort you put in the guild, but how much time you dedicate to that guild as well. Because I think that's fair. I think that makes people find a guild that they're willing to stick with. Like I understand like guilds change, people drop out, and you want to find, but once you find that guild you want to stick with them. Like I understand it. Like I run the Helsing Army, and I try to make it so that people, like when people log in and when they hang out and talk, it's fun, and that it's a community thing. Like anybody here that's in chat is welcome to join the Helsing Army. It's one of those things where Like listen, I may drop more dots for fun. You never know. Like I have done that before, like in that dungeon where I was just like 50 TKP minus. Like we were still killing the boss, but I was just yelling nonsense. And like because I knew everybody knew what they were doing, so I was just yelling nonsense and people were just hysterically laughing. I've known in older guilds when I was when I ran War Party, which was my old World of Warcraft guild, we did the Prune Juice challenge. And when you have 15 people put 5,000 gold into a bucket, and whoever lasts the longest, which I did, you know, and the two, listen, don't do the prune juice challenge. So let's just take it from me, don't do the prune juice challenge. But what it is that you take a whole like jug of prune juice, like a normal size thing of prune juice, and you drink a pint every 15 minutes. And if you don't know what prune juice does, let me just tell you, at the end of it, just buy like baby wipes. Just, things don't turn out well.
It's a warrior's drink. What are you talking about?
I have like, and that's what we used to do. That's how we kept it fun and engaging, and like people like did stuff like that. That's what we did. And
I'm no longer encouraging my kids to play MMOs. Thanks.
Yeah.
I was all on board to say go out and explore the virtual world, but no longer. They will stay restricted in their towers.
No produce challenges. We did some fun stuff, man. We did like a lot of like I would be that guy like because I was the tank in the guild, and I would just run around and be like, you know, like I would just sing little chants and stuff. Like I was that guy like running around, like I don't care. Like I'd run into another room, forget what we were doing, like pull the whole mob and be like, start screaming, and there's just like a whole horde of monsters behind me. That guy.
I did that to SMD3.
Yeah, you did. Like, and I never get mad. Like, I never get upset because there's no point. Because at the end of the day, it's just a game. Like, I understand. Yeah. At the end, like,
it's about an escape. I mean, we play these games for an escape. You know, we're tired of RL, so we do something different to get our minds off of it.
Right. Yep. And I wanted to talk a little bit about community because it was brought up that EverQuest was basically how do we turn a role-playing game into a video game where you can play with massive amounts of people. And, you know, coming from like playing Dungeons and Dragons with, you know, like 3 or 4, maybe 5 of my friends all sitting around in one room, I moved into playing a worldwide live action role play, Camarilla the Vampire the Masquerade, right? So the thing about that game when you're playing with a whole bunch of different people and is that like the way that they wrote up the vampires is that they wanted that vampires instinctively like gathered together into small groups themselves. That was just like, you know, because in a world full of predators, you need people to watch your back. And so like those like games I think do best when the guild structure is something that people need to be in. And it's very hard to find an MMO that creates a guild structure that isn't more than just a chat room. And because that's what a lot of times that's what the guilds feel like in the game. They're just another chat room, and they have to feel like something more than that. Otherwise, it for me, like it doesn't matter what guild I'm in. Like when I'm playing certain other games, it just doesn't matter to me. There is no sense of it. There is no identity in the guild. There's no community in the guild. It's just like, hey, this is a raiding guild and we raid on this time. And if you show up and as this class, this is your expectations. And it's got to be, you know, we're going to talking about that whole idea of the virtual world. It's like, you know, give me something just a little bit more depth. It doesn't have to be like, you know, super complex in depth, but just something more than an extra chat channel that I have to watch.
Definitely, and I'm pretty positive there's studies out there that have actually quantified that people play these games longer if they are in communities and if they do have an attachment with the world and themselves within the world. I did a research, my thesis last May was actually on a PlanetSide 2 community and how they use rituals of communication not only to kind of take their military background and insert it into the community of the game, but how the game in turn influenced them and how they talk with each other. You know, you have these terms that come up within the games that you start using together, or you have that kind of inside joke that builds like rapport and connection within you guys as a group. And I'll go as far to say that, you know, the reason online is in the title MMO is because community is the backbone of any MMO for me, and especially any virtual world. I think it's the number one component that if you don't have it, it's not an MMO. It's not a virtual world. And I think that's a good drawing line. You look at Destiny. Is it an MMO? Well, can you have a community within it where you're actively searching for other people, talking to other people, getting along with them, and gaming with a friend? Yes. So it could be an MMO in that regards. It depends what other kind of tenets we tack on there. But community, number one, online. The fact that I can engage with another human being through my computer in a virtual world and get lost with them on a journey, that's what makes an MMO for me.
Yeah. I mean, it even goes deeper than that. I mean, ever since we started EverCast, I mean, we started with humble beginnings, but now, I mean, look, I like without EverCast, Kit and I would never have been able to like do a Helsing Army if it wasn't without this.
So many people.
Yeah, I mean, we're friends with so many people that are in this community. Legendary Neurotoxin, Tobin Ernwood, my homie from another country
out there in chat too.
Yeah, I mean, even you guys, like I said, like Chewy, Tamlin, Kyleth, like all Caliber, like everybody that's like done anything or has anything related to the show, or even showed up in chat and added us on Twitter and like talked. Like we're very open people. We'll talk to anybody. Like we invite you onto the show. Like we don't care if you work at Sony or if you just are a fan of MMOs. Like come on and chat with us. Like this is one of the reasons why we do this show, is because we want to hear what you have to say. You know, everyone has an opportunity and a voice to do this, and I think that's one of the best things about this, like what we do and how this community comes together. Like I think that's one of the Go ahead.
And I was going to say, and feel free to disagree with us, because that makes a more interesting conversation. Like we're not like a mutual admiration society over here. And
if you think I'm a dick, tell me.
Right. Well, that's kind of like the conversations that we have with one another behind the scenes, right? Is about that disagreement. Like no story ever is about how awesome everybody got along. There's always got to be a conflict for a story to develop. And if we were all just agreeing with one another, like it would be so boring. Like it's so much more interesting when we disagree with one another. So if you have an opinion that disagrees with us, feel free, send us a message. We want to hear it.
We love feedback, and we love trollish comments too. Looking at you, Corona. I'm looking at you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So community's covered. I think one thing to talk about, which will be really fun, is simulations, body simulations, and character simulations in the virtual world. Is that necessary? Technically, kind of it is, because think about it. A simulation would be leveling up your character to a point. But take it even further. Let's talk about hunger, thirst, sleep. Are these things that you look forward to in MMOs? Are these things that are like a basic tenet that should be there, other than basic character growth? For me, I played this small little game that was being made back in the day called Free World RPG. I think that was called. Man, I can't even remember.
Free World? Or Free Realms?
No, Free World. It was before Free Realms. It was just like an indie project, but it did some of the coolest things ever, like slash across your screen to attack. A lot of cool things. But in the game, it had like a full body simulation, so you had to like make camp every now and then in a safe area, and it was a quick sleep. It wasn't like, oh, I had to wait an hour, but you know, I had to cook my food. I had to have a good supply with me. So when I ventured across the world, you know, I had more of a limitation on myself other than, can I kill this mob? For me, that was a lot of fun. But it can also really kind of kill the player, I guess, who, let me say it this way, if the penalty's too steep, it can definitely put people off from a system. Like, oh, I'll die from not eating. Well, that can be a little steep. Maybe, I like how a lot of games take the food and stuff as like a bonus, but Tamlin has something to say on this, and Flatus does too.
I was going to say jump in real quick. Sorry, Tamlin. I forgot to announce the winner of the first raffle.
Oh, who won? I was going to ask you that earlier.
Yeah, it was Capus. I'm sorry.
Congratulations.
But yeah, you're going to get the first code for the glass, the path things.
Oh, we can get another one going too. But
yeah, I'll just start the other
one. Fired.
Really keeping up with these things.
No, see. So going back to like the food and see, the thing about it is that you say that food would give you a buff, but that's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that if you're not well fed, you're actually you have a debuff on you. Because going back to like raiding in WoW, right? Like you have your food buff. If you don't have your food buff, you're missing part of what makes you the best you can be. And it's like I'm okay with like foods and stuff like that because like the first role-playing games I ever played online were things like Ultima 3, Ultima 4, where you had to have food and you had to buy food. And if you ran out of food while you were out adventuring, you died. But if you attach a buff to it, it's no longer becomes a buff. It's a debuff if you're not well fed. And I think that that's kind of problematic because instead of encouraging people to be immersed in the world and experience the world in a more realistic way, instead it's a way of min-maxing your character.
It's a grind, right? Someone's saying in chat, well, you gotta make sure you grind up your flask before the raid tonight. If not, we can't do it. Yeah, I totally agree there. What about you, Miss Crayola Kitty or Sir Flatus? What do you think about like body simulations in MMOs?
Shit.
He's like, well...
Just type in chat.
I don't like when it gives you a buff. Sort like in Project Gorgon, it just gives you like a role-playing element. Like what was I, exquisitely clean and a vegetarian.
It also gives you that, but no, it also gives you out-of-combat regions. So, like, I can regen my power faster when I'm not in combat. So it's not like a direct, like, power item, like it's going to affect the gameplay when I'm fighting, but it is there.
But it's an interesting thing because for, like, the elves, like, they like to be clean. And, like, in order to be clean, you had to jump in water. Like, you have to make yourself clean. Like, you have to go jump in water and clean off the filth.
Yeah, and the elves won't talk to you if you're dirty.
Yeah.
See,
yeah, so I like that.
See, I like that because it adds an element of reality to the world, right? Like if you have a race that expects you to be clean and presentable when you go into their city or that sort of thing, and you come in and you're wearing your adventuring gear that you've been sleeping at when you've been camping for the last couple weeks, they're going to treat you differently. I think that that's a great thing. I think that adds, something to look, something that makes the world. I know I said more realistic, but it appeals to that sense of realism in me.
No, absolutely. Especially when it makes the gameplay more immersive in the fact that you're paying attention to what's going on. I have to know that elves like me to be clean. I have to know if I'm clean. If not, that's an extra step that I have to do. But it's kind of a fun step. It's not like I have to grind for an hour. I'm just going to jump in some water and talk. Can we go as far as to say that it should be some kind of this should be included in MMOs? Is this a foundation of MMOs that needs to be there?
Maybe not, but it's an added touch.
I would love it if it was like that in EverQuest Next, where the NPCs, because the story bricks engine, right? They react to you based on your standing with them, and I would love it if they
stuff like that.
Exactly, if they treated you different, if you were in like an adventuring gear set, or like if you were in plate mail, or if you were like in like fine robes, if you wore clothing that expressed that you were wealthy to them, they would treat you different. If you came in rags, I think that would be awesome. That would add a level of immersion that I don't think we've seen before in MMOs. I can't think of one that's treated you differently based on, the cow one that in
just
Oregon.
Reputation. Yeah, some games have done it a little bit, but not to the level that EverQuest is talking about. Yeah.
Guild Wars 2 attempted it with their personal story where you picked out you came from you didn't come from money, but then you got money from later in life, you did and that affected your personal story, but not the way anything else really treated you in the world.
But there's so many topics left to cover, guys. This is
I knew it was going to go long
because it'll be like a 3-hour lecture if he does it. Okay, we need to switch to this subject. I'm sorry, because it is something we need to touch on. User-generated content, emergent content, and players having influence on the virtual world. As far as we can even talk about economy, things like that. Should what I do in the world, let's start with that. Should what I do in the world have an effect on the world around me? Does that mean it's an MMO? Does it have to be an MMO in that way?
I've been on the record before that I would love to see developers act reactively to the world and not design the world, in that they see what the players are doing and they develop the game going forward into the future based on what the players are doing right now, not that they are putting the carrot in front of the horse and then the players following the carrot. I would much rather have them react to the players. EVE does that to a certain extent where they write their NPC storylines based on what's going on in the EVE world. But other than that, all other MMOs that I've come across are the other way around. Like they write the content, you go to the content, and when you're done with the content, they write more and you go.
I will add that there is still player influence on a world, even in that kind of MMO, just not in the story world. I mean, you think that, oh, I'm trading with the player because I have that staff drop, and they don't. Well, then I'm influencing their play experience. So yeah, there's still that kind of influence. I think the conversation, though, what we're talking about is the actual narrative of the story, or the NPCs around us. Should we see the game change around us, not just the players? Because that's already going to happen in our day-to-day communication. What do you think, Miss Crayola Kitty? Do you think it's necessary for MMOs in the future? Do you think it should be a necessary thing that MMOs have now?
I think it's cool. I know, like, in EQ2, you could touch certain rocks and it'll, like, put your name. You're like, Flatus is here. Like that.
Yeah, that is cool. That is super cool.
I'm always here, though.
That's Flatus's way of saying, I wasn't listening to you guys, I was watching the chat. What were we talking about again?
And in Project Gorgon, there's little notebooks that you could leave notes in there, too.
Yeah, you can write things for people. See, that's awesome.
That's actually kind of awesome. What was that bunk, like, zombie game that came? Was it War Z? Like it got ripped off Steam.
Yeah, that was,
it was like
game.
Yeah, but you could do that. There was like notes you could leave in the world, and people could find your notes and stuff. That poor, just like whole thing. Poor game. But outside of that,
so how about this, Flatus? Yes or no?
Yes.
Should players have an effect on the world?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes for a more interesting game. I think that, like we said last week, like the idea of me like going up to a tomb or going up to a cave and discovering some like weird symbols, and I touch them in the right order, and unleash a horde of ghost army that starts to attack the world. I think that's really interesting, and I think that and I will be the first person that does that. And I think it should announce it like Flatus unleashes the ghost horde upon Norath.
And then we could all
that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be that guy. And I think it's kind of great. I think that's what we need. I think that it'd be a lot of fun to see that. We always see in when new MMOs start, like server first, but what about server first in a different way? Server first for unleashing the ghost horde, or like you're not server first, but you're recognized for like, oh, look at this dummy, like way to go, getting the ogres to like come attack us with like, you know, trebuchets and stuff. Way to go, buddy. Like that would be hilarious to me. Like, you know, like you're not hurting anyone, but it's kind of like it was bound to happen sooner or later, so now everyone has to go and face like this big evil created by a character. It happened because a character affected the world, and I think that'd be interesting.
True. I hate to cut in. Porosaurus says something really cool. Sorceress, I can't say that word apparently. She says a lot of companies probably don't want that much freedom to change the world because it opens doors for trolling or 18+ stuff going on. You know, maybe copyright issues. Do you see that being a problem with MMOs? There's a lot of really creative commons, and if you moderate the community, I don't know if that's a.
See, that's why I don't want them. I don't want them to be like, this happened and the players did this in the world, therefore it is now like canon going forward, like it's now part of the world. But if they like I keep saying, like, right, if the players are always on this particular road killing all of the orcs, and because the AI reacts to the players doing this, by now all of a sudden all of the orcs all of the time are over in this forest, and then developers go like, hey, you know what, we see that this is what's going on, so now the orcs are going to develop a fortress in that forest that wasn't planned. They didn't say like, we're going to do, you know, the orcs are going to go here because we say they're going to go here. The players drove them there. And then they didn't say like, the orcs are going to make a fortress here because we say that. They're like, well, we noticed that the orcs are always ending up in this location. What would you do if you were with a bunch of your orc buddies in this one particular place and you were tired of being killed off by adventurers? Build a fort, right? So it's just like that sort of emergent player-driven storyline that the developers could notice and react to and develop storylines off of that sort of thing. Not that, you know, like that Warcraft when they're that bugged blood disease got out, like it spawned in an
and they infected the entire player base with this giant plague.
And then players started trolling one another because they figured out how to exploit a system. Like, that's pretty cool emergent behavior, but you wouldn't want to encourage that, and you wouldn't want to condone that. You would want to fix that and make sure that it never happened again.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a big difference between, like, I can understand, like, giving us building tools in EQN. Like, you don't want to see Dictropolis or anything like that, or like, you don't want to see that, but, like, being able to put, like, little special things in there, like I said, the ghost horde that you discover and you unlock it, or a curse that you just solve a puzzle wrong and it curses the land or something like that. Like, it just, like, erases the dead in that land for, like, it's little stuff like that you can do that affects the world, makes you feel special, like, oh shit, I effed up. and the whole server has to kind of, like, or you and your party has to kind of fix it. And I think that's a way of doing it. Like, throwing stuff on the ground, I can give and take that. I think it's cool, but I can leave it. Like, it's not like, I
mean, I can't really comment on whether designers have purposely chosen to limit these factors to stop community trolling and stuff. The only thing I can say is that, in my opinion, the world's always full of dickheads and shit faces, and the virtual world's going to be the same. There are moderation tools that you can put in to try and help things, but if we're making a virtual world game, I want to be able to affect it in as many ways as possible, and what other people do in the game, I also want that to affect my experience, as long as it's a good experience that I have, as long as it's part of the game. So yeah, you need to limit trolling, you need to do this, but going forward, I'd hate to see that any kind of design decision that, oh, we can't do this because players are going to troll each other. You know, think of, hey, players are going to troll each other, so how can we still do this and make it so they can't troll each other in the process? I think Landmark's a good exemplar of this, because I can dig a hole under Tamlin, and in a normal game, if I put something on top of him and create a game, he might get stuck, but he can dig himself right out.
Omid called that emergent trolling in one of the Landmark lives.
Yeah,
players are going to do it. Like, I posted it. Like, if players are going to find ways to grief each other, it's a reality. And I can understand where you wouldn't want to make it so easy to grief one another. You would try and limit it as a developer. And I don't have all the answers. That's why I talk about games and I don't develop them, because I don't have those type of answers.
And there's still a lot more for us to cover in terms of user-generated content. We've talked a lot about it in the past. We'll talk a lot about it in the future. But we only have 3 minutes left, technically, in the show. And I want us all to kind of say, what are our basic tenets from this discussion? What makes an MMO for you? And what you want to see going forward? And as few words as possible. We're all about to have, like, another hour and a half discussion. Damn it, Chewy. All right, Cradle Kitty, why don't you start? Why don't you let us know what is an MMO for you, what you enjoy about it, and what you want to see in future MMOs?
For me, it's the community and being able to be immersed in the game and adventuring. I love adventuring. And it's always a plus if I could dual-wield axes.
I like that. That's awesome. Vladis, how about you, man?
No bare butts. Already I started Dictropolis, and that's a thing in chat already, so but for me, I think that it's got to be the community, and I think that the ability of having the world open to me, in a sense of freedom, that what I can do and what I can discover. I think discovery for me is the best thing. Talking to people, like they even said, like helping the guy on the open road that leads to unlocking the that certain class, or finding a book that leads you to it. Like, that to me is special, because it makes it feel like not only is this an MMO and other players have the option or the ability to go find certain things in the world like that, but it makes it special to me. And I come back and be like, dude, I found this guy and I helped him on his quest, or me and Kit were out on the road and we helped this dude and we both unlocked this class together. And like, it's little stuff like that. And I think that's special.
How about you, Sir Tamlin? By the way, everyone, you should know that Tamlin has been struggling through this entire episode due to massive amounts of heat around him. So we should all give a nice applaud to Tamlin for sticking with us and wiping the sweat off his brow.
Yeah. A horrible mistake. Never running the show without the AC running it ever again. I don't care if it's the middle of the night. It will be temperature controlled. No, but for me, I want to be able to. I want the whole concept of a virtual world. I want to be able to log in and feel like I'm going into a as real as possible as can be. Some sort of fantasy world, some sort of science fiction world. I don't really care so much as that. It's interesting. There are things to do. There's not the repetition and the mundanity. And that's where, like, we didn't even talk about it, but like, that's why I don't want bathrooms in my game experience. I hate The Sims 4 for that. Like, that is looking at the mundanity of my existence that I could really not have to ever think about outside of actually doing it myself.
Absolutely. I've been reading Ready Player One recently. Flatus turned me onto it. Well, actually, Dave Georgeson and Locke turned me onto it from their interview they had, and it's an amazing book. It's all about virtual reality, virtual worlds, where people just get lost in themselves.
But he's like, no, let me name some higher people.
It wasn't that. It's just I was going by order of operations here. They gave it to me first, and then you said, yeah, go ahead and read it. So I had to give them credit where credit was due. Anyways, for me, a virtual world is all about community as a backbone. It's about being able to engage in others, and it's about escaping the monotony of the day. Absolutely. It's about escaping my problems, getting immersed in a story that I can affect in some way, or at least I can have a perceived effect. If I can't affect the world itself, then I need to at least believe that what I'm doing is playing into a storyline that I'm developing. It's a perceived storyline, and that's important for me. Future of MMOs, I think EverQuest Next is the best example of what I could hope for going forward. I've been on the record saying that I hate MMOs that try and do too much and appeal to everybody. They're so expensive to make. They're so probably the rocket science of the game industry, MMOs, because you're trying to put all these online systems together and hope it works out in the end. I'd like to see more kind of indie-style MMOs come out. I want to see... Oops, my chair popped out of place. I want to see MMOs that specialize in certain areas, so I can play multiple MMOs at a time. If I like EQN for the AI, then let me play EQN for that, but let me have a totally different experience with a different MMO. They don't all have to do the same damn thing. They don't all have to be AAA and filthy casual, as Talon just put in chat. Yes, I called you out. They don't have to be filthy casual. They need
hey,
they need to.
That was me teasing Chad. That's why I didn't put it in the public channel. I put it in the private channel.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh.
Sometimes private channel's just as funny as public.
If you want to switch between a whole bunch of different games, I do it. I'm just Yeah,
no, definitely. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Of course, such a huge topic. We're never going to be done talking about it. That's what the show's based on. For those who are new with us watching the show, be sure to check out all our MooBot information in the chat. We have a blog, evercastshow.blogspot.com, where we even put in some keys and some cool stuff every now and then if you kind of wanted to check it out. Because it's
now you
like
tell everybody.
You could ever
it's
want
no longer hidden.
I'm not saying like, pay attention to our blogspot or the little ticker. I'm not saying any of that stuff.
No, we're not. We're just saying follow EverCast because it's more than what you think it is. Yes, we're a weekly live show, but we try and engage the community throughout the week, and we always want your feedback. I mean, I will chat with anybody in this chat room any time of day as long as I have it available, because we love this stuff. And thank you to Miss Crayola Kitty for bearing with us.
Absolutely, A big thanks to Kit. It was the last minute.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was the last minute me questioning and being like, and she was like, too nervous. And I was like, please come out, please.
Thanks for inviting me, though.
Oh, no, not a problem. And, thank you all for showing up for EverCast. Tamlin is probably melting, so I'm going to end the show so he doesn't melt to his chair. Kit, please do us the honor of camping us out for our last segment of EverCast and say goodnight to everybody.
Okay, night everyone. Camping in 3, 2, 1.